I believe in Hashem. I trust in Hashem. There never is a moment that I am alone, and I'm on my own. I believe and I trust in Hashem, because I understand that He's holding my hand, and every step is perfectly black. He's holding me tight, so I'll be alright. I believe and I trust in Hashem. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol nihiyah b'dvarei. When we say shehakol nihiyah b'dvarei, that means everything, whatever happens in this world, is bidvarei, by Hashem's word. Hashem is in charge. Someone asked me today, the weather looks so funny. First it's warm, now it's snowy, and now it's rainy. I said, who's in control? Who's making everything happen? It's only Hashem. And anything that happens in the world is only from Hashem. And Hashem is therefore protecting us constantly. The Rebbe once spoke to the children, it was before Purim, about 38 years ago, and the Rebbe said that the Medrash tells us a story that Mordechai HaTzadik asked 3 children to say their pasuk that they learned. They learned a lot of psukim, but what was their favorite pasuk? So the first one said, Al tira mipachad pisaim, don't be afraid from a sudden fear, umishayas rishayim kisavai, or from the darkness and destruction of the Rishayim when it comes. Don't be afraid of it, because Hashem is watching us. The next boy said the other pasuk, Utzu eitza v'sufar dabru davar v'lo yakum. They can make their plans, nothing's going to happen. They can speak their words, nothing is going to come of it. Why? Because ki imanu kael, because Hashem is with us. And the third boy said the third pasuk, ve'ad zikna anihu, which means that Hashem is always with us through our whole lifetime, from when we're born throughout our old age. Hashem is always with us, and therefore Hashem says, "Vani espoil va'amalit," I'll protect you and I'll save you from everything. And the Rebbe said that this has to do with Purim, because that's what Mordechai heard from the Kinderlach coming from Cheder. What does that have to do with Purim? The whole thing was that Haman made a plan. First thing Haman did, he was thinking in his mind the plan. He was planning it. Machsheves Haman ben Abdasa, like it says in Megillah. And for that, the Torah tells us, the Eibishter promises us, that when Haman has a bad plan and he wants to bring darkness to Yidden and destruction, the Eibishter says, Al tira mipachad pisaim. You have nothing to be afraid of from a sudden fear, and the destruction and darkness of the Rishayim. Why? Because Hashem is protecting us. Hashem is in charge. After Haman had his bad plans in his mind, then he went to his friends, the other ministers, and spoke to them about it. We spoke about it. That's what the next pasuk is. Utzu eitza v'sufar. They make their plans, it gets canceled. Dabru davar, they speak. V'lo yakum. It's not going to happen. Why? Ki imanu kael, because Hashem is with us. Then come the third pasuk, Ve'ad zikna anihu. Hashem says, even when there's chas v'shalom gezeira, something's happening, and you're in danger, don't worry. You're not in danger, you're safe. Because Vani Amalit, Vani Espel Vamalit, I will save you, I'll protect you. This is a very good lesson for us, reminding us, Hashgacha Pratis is always there. The Eibush is constantly watching over us. every second. Today I have a story to tell you about the Mittler Rebbe. Last week I told you a story about the Alter Rebbe, how the person's life was saved because he listened to the Alter Rebbe, and he didn't go to the minister when he shouldn't have gone, and he did go when he was supposed to go. Here's the story of the Mittler Rebbe, but this is after the Mittler Rebbe passed away. Huh? Yes. Tzaddikim get only stronger. See, even after he passed away, he's not just as strong as before, he's even stronger. That's what the Zohar tells us. They're even stronger than they ever was. So here is the story. There was once a chassid of the Mittler Rebbe. His name was Reb Yankel Kadaner. He lived somewhere in Russia, I'm not sure exactly where, probably in the city Kadan. That's why it's called Kadaner, maybe. And he was the Rav of the city, a big Talmud Chacham. He had a friend in the town, we'll call him Reb Moshe. Reb Moshe was not a chassid, but he was a big Talmud Chacham, kept the mitzvahs carefully. One day, Reb Moshe comes to Reb Yankel and says, Reb Yankel, I'm going on another business trip. Reb Moshe was a businessman. And I'm going to travel to the Ukraine. What? Don't you know there's a war going on there now? No, I'm only kidding. It's not what he said. There was no war then. I'm going to Ukraine, to the city of Nyezhin. Because over there I can buy the stuff that I need. I buy tobacco. Tobacco is used for cigarettes. And I buy a lot of stuff over there. So I'm going to be gone for a few months. So I'm coming to say goodbye. Reb Yaakov said to him, if you're going to Nyezhin, then you can have the great schus of visiting the oil of the Mittler Rebbe. Mittler Rebbe's oil is there. Even though he's not a chassid, but he's encouraging to go, because everyone can go to an oil of a tzaddik. And he says, okay, B'li neder, I'll go there. And he left. And he was gone for over 6 months on his trip. Reb Yankel says that he heard a report that his trip was not successful. Things did not work out good for him. He was losing a lot of money in different businesses he was doing. Another thing was not good at home. At home, his wife got very, very sick. She became so sick that the doctors didn't find any medicine for her anymore. They didn't know what to do. One night, she got so sick that she fainted. And they called 3 great doctor professors to come. They were like the top doctors. And they sat with her a whole night and couldn't wake her up. She was Rahmanul Litzlan, like in a coma. She was like completely in a faint. She was still alive, but was not awake. When it came the morning, the doctors already gave up hope. They don't think that she will stay alive. But then suddenly a big miracle happened. Like 9 o'clock in the morning, she opened her eyes. And suddenly she started to breathe better and get stronger. And as the hours were going, she was getting stronger and better. One day after another, by 1 month's time, she was completely cured, completely healthy. And the doctors were shocked. They said, this is a real miracle. We didn't give her any medicines, no treatments, nothing. And just from herself, she made it. A few months later, Reb Moshe comes back home. Now, when a person is away from his family for so many months, The first thing you want to do is spend time with your family, your wife, your kids. He comes home and he runs straight to Reb Yankel the Chassid. He runs straight to his house. Reb Yankel, you have to hear this. Oh, Shalom Aleichem, Bayachem L'Shalom, you're back. I'm so happy to see you. So, when did you come? I just came now. You're coming to me first? Oh, why aren't you by your family now? Make them happy. I have to tell you, I just found out of a tremendous miracle. I must share it with you. I'm just too excited. He says, what's the miracle? He says, let me tell you what happened. He says, I went on this trip hoping to make a lot of money, to be successful, but guess what happened? Everything went sour. I was losing money. Mamash, I lost all my money. Not only that, I owe people money now. Number 2, he says he got very sick on the way. Number 3, he said was a terrible, terrible thing. That what? He said he has this fear that he felt in his heart that his wife is not well. He didn't get any WhatsApps about it. He just had this feeling in his heart that his wife is not well. And that she's very, very sick. It was probably his neshama telling him, because Hashem wants him to daven for her. And being that she was so, in my mind, so sick, I was so worried, he said. But then I finally came to Niezhin, where I'm supposed to do my business. I don't know how much I can buy. When I came there, one thing I remembered for sure. I'm supposed to keep my promise. I told you that I'm going to go to the Mittler Rebbe's Oyhel. I went to the mikveh, then I went to the Oyhel, and when I came in, listen what happened. It was very, very cold. The winter, the weather, unbelievably cold. But Baruch Hashem, I had good warm clothes. I was so well dressed, I didn't feel the cold. But when I walked into the Oyhel, like a fear overtook me. I felt such a fear for the Kedusha of the Rebbe's place that I started to shiver from head to toe. I got so scared, I wanted to run out. But I thought it's not right to run away from a Rebbe. So I started to say the pages of the Zohar, of Tehillim, of different tefillos, which we see in the Minor Lashon, I guess. And as I was saying it, I was crying bitterly. I was crying so much, like I never in my life before cried so much. After I finished, I took 2 Panns, 2 Pannim. One I wrote about my family and myself, and another one about my wife. Because he had a feeling that she's not well, he asked the bracha that she should have a refuah shlema. He took both Panns, put him on the kaver. He says, when I put it down on the kaver, suddenly a big simcha entered my heart. I felt like a different person. I felt so happy. I felt like such a pleasure. It felt like I feel Gan Eden here. I didn't want to even leave. It just felt so good and happy. A happiness I don't remember ever in my life having such a happiness. I was so excited that I did not even want to leave the Oyhel. I stayed there for about 2 hours. And finally I left. When I finally came home, I asked the family what's going on, and they told me right away what happened. how my wife and what happened to her and how she was so sick. And by some kind of miracle, she suddenly became better. And I said to them, can you tell me which day it was, the miracle? And they told me the day. And I thought, ooh, that is the day that I went into the Oyel. I asked them, what time did she open her eyes and start breathing again? They said it was 9 o'clock in the morning. I said, 9 o'clock? That's exactly when I put the Pann on the caver. Exactly 9 o'clock in the morning. Wow! Now you understand, Rabbi Yankel, the big miracle, where I came running to you right away to tell you what happened? This is so exciting. Look how the Rebbe saved her life. We see here the power, Kinderlach, of a Pann, of a pidyon nefesh, that you write to the Rebbe. I want to tell you something. Last night, it was like 12 something. Somehow I didn't go to sleep yet. And I got a message that my son, you know him, Moshe Goldstein, who works here, they went to the hospital to get a baby, to have a baby. She was already due, Baruch Hashem. And he says, please write to the Rebbe, to the Oyel. And sometimes you come to the hospital and you have to wait a long time. So right away, I wrote to the Oyel. There's an email address. I wrote. A few minutes later, he writes back, Mazel Tov, the baby was born, Baruch Hashem. She had a girl, Baruch Hashem. And then he says, can you write again and ask for a bracha? She should feel good, after her mother gives birth. I wrote a bracha for that, and for the baby. And then later he writes back, Baruch Hashem, she's feeling very good. We have no idea how lucky we are. We have a tzaddik. We're able to write a Pann. And if you can't bring it to the Oyel, you could take it to 770, you could put it in a sefer, you could do anything, but because the Rebbe reads the Pann as soon as you write it. So we should realize what kind of great schus we have, and the Eibusher would get that we're going to have such a great simcha of Purim, because even before Purim, we'll have Mashiach, we'll have Tchias HaMeisim, we'll see all the tzaddikim, all the rabbeim, we'll see Mordechai HaTzaddik, and Esther and Malcolm have a smashing big for bringing. A guten Tag.